Bismillah wa salatu wassalam ala Rasulillah. Today's lesson is about reading Traveller 6, Unit 5, page 56 and 57. Okay? Now, before we start, we have to look at the cover of this unit. It's on page 55. Now, look at this picture and look at the title, Body and Mind. Now, what does it mean, body? Body is this is the body. This is the body. Mind is the thing this is the mind. Okay? Body means jism, mind means aql. Now, what do you think the lesson is going to be about, or this unit is going to talk about? It's going to talk about how to take care of your body, maybe health. So, let's start. Now, Unit 4, page 56, Unit 5. Pre-reading means before reading, before we start reading. قبل أن نبدأ القراءة. Discuss. What are some of the things that makes you happy? Now, what is the thing that makes you happy? Or what are the things that make you happy? Now, most people think that money makes them happy, or health, or maybe playing with their friends, or going to trips or something like that. So, what are the things that make you happy? Number 2, do you think that happiness is a relative state? Relative means nisbi. Nisbi means, for me, this makes me happy, but for you, it doesn't make you happy. Nisbi. Okay? So, is it a relative state? وضع نسبي. Now, think about that. The next one. Now read the text on page 57 and answer the question that follows. These questions, we're going to come back to them. But first we're going to read the text. First. Now listen, this is the first paragraph of the text on page 57. Let's go back to 57 first. Hey, wait. Now,
everyone wants to be happy, but it seems that not many people can achieve happiness. There are some clues, however, as to what makes us happy. We know, for example, that it is necessary to have a reasonable amount of material possessions, but more than that doesn't make much difference. In average, people in America and Europe are twice as wealthy as they were 40 years ago. Yet, surveys show that they are not as happy. In fact, in many cases, they are less so.
Okay, now this is the first paragraph. Now, there's one word, a survey. Survey. Surveys means istibana. Questions, questionnaire. Okay, surveys. Now, a study. Now, if you look at this one, he's talking about happiness, and people in the past were more happy than they are now in America and Europe. Why? We don't know, but they have lots of money now, but they are not very much happy as in the past. Now let's go to the next paragraph.
Everyone wants to be happy, but it seems that everyone wants to be happy.
Okay, the next one.
It is not surprising that people who have a large circle of friends are usually happier than those who do not have much of a social life, and that healthy people are happier than sick people. What's surprising to most of us is that disabled people have the same possibility for happiness as the rest of us do. Even people who have been seriously injured in an accident describe themselves as happy 3 weeks afterwards.
Now we have some words here. Now, disabled. Disabled means muq'ad, who cannot use his hands or his hands and legs. Now what makes people happy now? He said, it's not surprising that people who have a large circle of friends, they socialize. اجتماعيين. They have lots of friends, usually happier than those who do not have much of social life, social. حياة اجتماعية. They don't talk to people, they don't go to people, they don't visit people. Now, they are not socialized. So if you are socialized, you are more happier, or you are happier than the people who don't socialize, who don't visit people. Now also, what makes us happy is health, he said. Now, healthy people are happier than sick people. But what's surprising, مفاجئ, what's surprising is that disabled people are the same possibility for happiness. Now, they have the same happiness as healthy people. That's really strange, surprising. Okay? Now let's go to the next. The next one. Next paragraph.
Is that happiness is a relative state. If you discover that something absolutely awful is going to happen, then the life you had been leading up to that point can seem like absolute bliss, although you probably thought it was miserable while you were living it.
Now, the truth is that happiness is relative. Now, what is the meaning of relative? We took it before. Relative means nisbi, something that's, if I think that this makes me happy, some people don't think that it doesn't make them happy. So these things are called relative states. So if you discover that something absolutely awful, now what is the meaning of awful? Something really bad, something really not good is going to happen to you. What will happen to you? You'll think that everything that happened in the past is nothing, it's okay. Everything that happened in the past, it's okay. But now it's really difficult. Just like now, we are facing the coronavirus. So every problem that we had in the past, it's gone. It doesn't seem, we are living in a bliss. We were living in a bliss. Bliss means سعادة, في فرح, في رحمة. We were living in a bliss. Now we are living a really difficult time. Although you probably think it was miserable while you were living it. While you were living that time, you think that it was really miserable. But now, when the problem came, when the coronavirus came, you think it's really good. That time was really good. Now let's listen to the next. Let's listen to the next one.
It seems, however, that those of us who are lucky enough to achieve happiness are going to mess it up anyway. Unfortunately, many of the things that makes us happy are also the things that we can become addicted to. In order to prove this, scientists carried out an experiment. They attached electrodes to a rat's brain and connected them to a handle in the animal's cage so that it could directly stimulate its pleasure centers by pressing the handle. The result was that the rat kept on pressing the handle instead of eating or drinking. Humans are different from rats because they are a bit more complicated, but research has shown that they too can fall into this trap.
Okay, now in this one, it seems, however, that those of us who are lucky enough to achieve happiness are going to mess it up. Mess up, or mess it up means to make problems. They don't handle it very good. بيفسدونها يخربونها. The thing that makes you happy, you will mess it up. Unfortunately, many of the things that make us happy are also that makes us really addicted. What is the meaning of addicted? مدمن. تدمن عليها. For example, playing a PlayStation. Most people or most kids or teenagers think that playing PlayStation is really happy, makes them happy. But they are addicted to it. They don't want to leave it. They spend a lot of money and a lot of time playing with it. So that's addiction, idman, addicted. In order to prove this, scientists, what did the scientists do? They attached means alsaqa, attached, okay? Attached chemicals or attached electrons to rat's brain. They stimulate, and then they stimulate. Where is it? And then stimulate. Okay, they stimulated النشط, stimulated the thing that makes the rat happy. What did the rat do? It stopped eating and drinking. It just made herself happy by pulling a handle. Pulling a handle. Okay, now the brains of the human are really not that different, but it's kind of complicated. صعب شوي, complicated, معقد. Complicated. But it can fall in the same problem. You'll be addicted to the things that you are feeling happy too. Then you will mess it up. You'll mess your life up. So let's listen now to the next one.
It seems one of the reasons we have such a problem with happiness is that we confuse it with a life untouched by negative feeling such as anxiety, rage, doubt, or sadness. We have a naive belief that happiness means that nothing ever goes wrong. In order to be happy, we need to come in terms with a few truths. We must learn how to live contentedly with the negative elements of life rather than attempting to live a life where nothing bad ever happens.
Okay, now the problem is with people, he said that they think that living in a happy or living a happy place or being in a happy life, it doesn't mean that you will face a problem. You don't face a problem. You are in paradise. No, we are living in the real world. So you have to face problem even if you are happy. But the problem is that people think that happiness is that it doesn't confuse it with the life of untouched by negative feelings. They don't think that it's going to touch them. They think that they'll live every time, every day, every hour, happy. But it's not. They sometimes feel anxiety. Anxiety means الخوف, الخشية, الرهبة, anxiety. Rage, غضب. Doubt, شك. Sadness, الحزن. So you're going to face these things in life. So you have to live with it. You have to contempt it. You have to contemptly live with it. To live contemptly, رضا. تعيش برضا معها. Okay? So with these negative feelings, so you can live happily. Live happily and you don't feel miserable or sad. Okay? Now the next one.
Professor at the University of Chicago, Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, has spent a great deal of time researching happiness and has provided us with some food for thought. He believes that the key to happiness is something he calls the flow. The flow is the state you are in when you are doing something that completely absorb you. It comes when you are pushed right up to the limit of your ability, but not beyond it. People can get a feeling of flow from dangerous sports like mountain climbing or driving fast. But it can also come from less strenuous pursuits like painting or reading a great book. The point is that people do these things because they want to and not because they are looking for some kind of reward.
Okay? Now in this one, in this paragraph, now there's a professor in Chicago, in the University of Chicago. He started studying the happiness, this happiness. He started studying, what is it? How do we become happy? Now he found out that there's something, he called it. He gave it a name called the flow. He gave it a name. Okay? Now this flow, it started working when you are doing something really difficult, but you have to do a lot of work to do it, but it's not difficult. You can do it. Okay? When you push right up to the limit of your ability, push yourself right up to the limit of your ability. It's not difficult, but you can do it, but it's going to be difficult to do it. That makes it really, that makes the flow works, and you become happy when you achieve this goal. Also, it can come through something really easy, like painting or reading a great book. You can do this. You can do this through things like that. Or doing something dangerous. Some people will love to be happy when they are doing something dangerous. For example, climbing mountains, or driving fast, or jumping out of an airplane. Okay? These things makes people happy. Okay? Also, you don't have to have a reward to do it. Reward means jaiza. Now let's go to the next one.
The really curious thing is that despite the fact that we are familiar with what makes us feel good, we still do not do these things very much. For example, a study showed that while playing sports, people have a flow of 35%, while when they are watching television, they have no flow at all. Yet they watch TV for 10 minutes as long as they spend playing sports.
Okay. Now, in this one, he's talking about the flow. And people are really know what makes them happy. For example, I know that playing football makes me happy. Or I know that doing my homework will make me happy after that. But people don't do it. People don't do it. People start doing something really relaxing. Like, for example, watching TV instead of walking. Even though that the flow in doing exercise becomes more, 35%. The flow that makes you happy, that bliss and you become really excited about things. In sports, the flow becomes 35%. But when you watch TV, the flow, there's no flow. There's nothing. Watching TV, they have no flow at all. There's no flow at all. But people still sit down and do nothing instead of going and working. And working or doing exercise makes them happier, better than watching TV. Now let's listen to the last paragraph.
A good measuring stick for those of us who are desperately seeking happiness is asking ourselves, is what I'm doing today contribute to the things that are most important in my life? If not, why are you doing it?
Now, if you are looking for happiness, you should ask yourself one question. Is what I am doing now or today contribute, يضيف, add, contribute to the things that are most important in my life? For example, the most important thing in your life is your religion. Is that thing you're doing, is your religion? Is contributing or adding to your religion? Okay, the next one is your family. Is that thing that contributes to your family? Or for example, your work, your homework, studying. Is that contributing or adding to your work, to your homework or your knowledge? If it's not, then why are you doing it? Why are you playing PlayStation or doing things that don't contribute, contribute to your life? Okay? Now let's go back to the questions. Now that we've listened or read it, read the text on page 57 and answer the question that follows. These are the questions. 1. Where might this text come from? Where do you think this text come from? Does it come from a psychology textbook? Psychology means علم نفس. Psychology textbook, or a scientific textbook, or scientific journal, مجلة أو جريدة, okay? Text, scientific means from science. A magazine or a brochure. Brochure منشورة, a brochure. Where do you think this one comes from? Or this article comes from? Is it from this one or this one, this one? Let's see this. It's from a magazine. It's from a magazine. Now, this is the reading. There are some words. We're going to explain these words. Stimulate. Stimulate means يحفز. Stimulate. Naive. Naive means ساذج, or makes you really simple, بسيط, naive. Strenuous, مرهق, strenuous. Okay. It's not there. Strenuous, no I didn't. Oh, I'm sorry, strenuous, this one is strenuous. Stimulate, sorry, this one is stimulate. Nervous, naive. Strenuous means مرهق. The next one is, that's it. Bliss, we have also bliss, and also reasonable, reasonable, عقلاني, مقبول. Okay, bliss معناها في سعادة. Okay, now we have these questions. First, read the text again and answer the question from 1 to 7. Choose A, B, or C. First question, what was true of people 40 years ago? 40 years ago, what would happen in Europe and America? What happened to them? Okay, so he said they were rich, they were rich, they were generally happy, they had a reasonable amount of material possessions. Material possession مواد يعني ممتلكات. They were generally happy, less happier. Now they were generally happy. Now we have this one. What fact surprised most people? Now what fact surprised most people? The fact is that that disabled people are not generally unhappy. They are happy. You think that sick people are less happy than healthy people, but disabled, المعاقين disabled, they are as happy as healthy people. Now, number 3, what happens when people discover something bad is about to happen? They feel miserable, they feel like they have been a meaningless life, or they feel like their previous unbearable lives weren't. So it's C. Weren't that bad after all. The previous life, it's not that bad after all. Okay? 4. What happened each time the rat presses the handle? When the rat presses the handle, what happened? What happened to it? It felt very good. It felt happy. According to the writer, what do we need to do to be happy? What are the things that we need to have to be happy? We have to push ourselves. He said about pushing himself to he said, live without negative feelings, make sure that nothing goes wrong, lead and this one. C. Learn to accept that life is sometimes difficult. Life is sometimes difficult. How does one achieve the flow? Line 38. Okay? It's A. By doing something one really like. If you do something you really like, you'll achieve the flow. And the last one is, what does it in line 40 refers to? Refer, the word refer, تعود إلى. What does it mean? What does it mean, this it? It means what? Is it the flow? Or is it your ability? Or the limits? It's the limits. It's the limit of your ability. It refers to the limit of your ability. Now these are the words that we talked about. Reasonable. We said reasonable is what? Correct. Fairly large. Too big. It's fairly large. معقول, reasonable. Bliss, it's happiness. Stimulate, it's active or activate. Stimulus, activate. Naive, unreasonable. Strenuous, it's demanding, something difficult. Okay? Now, post-reading. Do you believe that is really hard for human to be happy? Is it really difficult for people to be happy or not? What do you think? Now the second one, after reading the text, would you consider making any changes in your everyday life? Why not? Would you change your life when you read that the flow, there's something called the flow, and you can make yourself happy by doing something you like? Are you going to change the things that you're doing today? That's it. Thank you very much, and hope to see you again. Okay, now, but to remind you that this is what? This is Traveller. We are in Traveller. English, Traveller 6, Unit 2, Unit 5, page 56 and 57. Thank you very much.